What are the first signs of hearing loss? Well, I'm going to share the answer to that in today's video. If you're new, my name is Emily. I created Definite Hearing as a way to increase awareness for the deaf and hard of hearing. I did this because I am hard of hearing myself. I wear hearing aids. I've worn them since I was 4 months old, and boy, I am just so grateful I have them. So I'm so excited about today's video because I'm going to talk about the first signs of hearing loss from the experience of being a hard of hearing person. I hope you stick around to the end of this video because if you do, I'm going to share a little snippet of a comment from one of my videos of someone who recently got hearing aids and they love them. So I'm going to review the first signs of hearing loss, and hearing aids can be a solution for this, and I will talk about that more at the end. All right, so one of the most obvious signs of hearing loss is muffled speech. If you feel like people are mumbling or not speaking clearly or not pronouncing their words properly, this could be an indicator that you could be losing your hearing. This leads into the second point of an indicator that you could be losing your hearing, and this is having difficulty understanding. When you start losing your hearing, you start losing your ability to focus and to process, and it really is kind of like a continual chain. And so that inability to understand is another indicator that you could be losing your hearing. If you are constantly asking what or asking people to repeat themselves, this is an indicator that you could be losing your hearing. Have you ever come up with a really good idea in a group conversation and people say, "We just said that"? Well, what's going on here is you are listening and processing subconsciously, but you don't, your brain just registers that this idea came and it doesn't really know where it came from. And so this could be an indicator of hearing loss if you are having these bright ideas come to you and everyone's like, "We already said that." Another indicator that you could be experiencing hearing loss is dropping things and not hearing them. So if you find yourself losing things a lot, this could be an indicator. I lose things a lot, and I've noticed that it's because I drop them and I don't hear them drop behind me. Do you frequently zone out when people are talking to you? This could be an indicator of hearing loss. You may not realize it, you might pass it off as daydreaming, but if you are trying to pay attention and then you notice your mind wandering, this could be an indicator of hearing loss, because though you know someone's saying something, you can't understand it and it's difficult to stay focused. And studies have shown that people who do not treat their hearing losses, even mild hearing losses, they are more susceptible to early onset dementia. The reason for this is because their ears are not passing that sound to the brain properly, and so it causes a mental deterioration, and it can rapidly cause dementia because people aren't paying attention and can't process things as quickly without their hearing. I think that hearing is one of the most underappreciated senses. It's very usual for people to say "Oh, I don't need hearing devices, I don't want to be old," or "I'm not old enough for that yet." Well, I'm 26 and I've worn hearing aids my whole life and I love them. They help me hear things and understand and be independent. And so if you find yourself with any of these indicators that you may be losing your hearing, definitely go get your hearing checked. Okay, some additional things are, do you have difficulty hearing on the phone? This could be an indicator that you have hearing loss. Phones sometimes make people's voices sound flatter, and that can be really hard to hear their voices, especially within the area of what we call speech bubble in an audiogram, which maps hearing. And so if you have difficulty hearing on the phone, this could be an indicator. If you turn your TV up really loudly and people comment that it's loud, this could also be an indicator of hearing loss. If you avoid conversations, starting conversations, because you know that you're going to have to ask what or ask people to repeat themselves, this is definitely an indicator. I deal with this frequently. I do wear hearing aids, but it's totally a thing. I have avoided starting conversations with people not because I don't want to get to know them or be their friend or start a conversation. It's because I'm more worried about having to ask them what or to repeat themselves, and it's embarrassing for me. And so I just kind of gauge every situation. But if you notice that you're avoiding conversations, Be aware of that. Another indicator is you may laugh at people's jokes when you know it's time to laugh, but you don't know what they actually said. It's okay to miss a punchline every once in a while. It's okay to like miss what people said. That's normal. But if you notice that it's consistent, or you're laughing and you don't know why you're laughing, but you're just laughing because everyone else is laughing, you're following those social cues. If you're relying on others for how you should respond, then that definitely could be an indicator that you are experiencing hearing loss, whether it's mild, moderate, or severe. I have a moderate to severe hearing loss, which means that I start hearing at the sound of a vacuum cleaner. So that's like my whisper and up. You could stimulate this if you're a normal hearing person by submerging your head in water. That plugged sound is what it sounds like for me when I take my hearing aids out. Okay, and last but not least, here are some things that most hearing people can hear that I certainly can't hear when my hearing aids are out, and people with mild hearing losses would not hear or cannot hear or have difficulty hearing. And so these can be an indicator as well. If you cannot hear your furnace, if you cannot hear birds chirping, if you cannot hear water running, you can see it running, but if you cannot hear it, that is an indicator. Like if you leave your sink on and you didn't realize it, that can be an indicator. And also if you cannot hear your dishwasher. There are some dishwashers that are like quieter than others, so definitely like ask another person to validate this for you, but just realize that if you can't hear these things, it could be an indicator that you are experiencing hearing loss. So what do you do if you find out like, oh my goodness, I totally qualify for one or all of these things that Emily just mentioned? Well, don't worry at all. You simply Google audiologist near me. Find an audiologist that's covered by your insurance, call them up, and book an appointment. The audiologist will ask you some preliminary questions and probably do a hearing test. They should do a REM, or real ear measurement test, to see where your hearing is at. These tests are amazing because they can scientifically map your hearing loss. Your audiologist will recommend specific treatment options for your specific hearing loss, if indeed you do have one. The treatment option that I am most familiar with is the hearing aids. Hearing aids aren't one size fits all solution, but they are absolutely incredible. And I love mine so much because, like I said earlier, they enable me to be a part of conversations. They enable me to be independent, to have a job, to like communicate with people. And I am so grateful for my hearing aids. Okay, so as you can see, I am a huge fan of hearing aids. I highly recommend them. If you have any questions for me about this, like process of, could I be losing my hearing aids? What are some indicators? Is this an indicator? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I want to share a comment that someone recently shared on one of my videos that made me emotional. Like, it made me so grateful that she shared this. Her name is Kim. Kim, thank you for sharing this. Kim just shared the story of how her ear, nose, and throat doctor recommended hearing aids for her mild hearing loss years ago. And she took forever to finally get them. But this is what she said about getting her hearing aids. She said, "Your video about hearing aids for mild hearing loss was a big push for me. I should have done this years ago," referring to getting hearing aids. "I had no idea just how much I wasn't hearing until suddenly I can hear those things. I had no idea our stairs squeak. I don't have to be a spectator in group settings anymore. Thank you for inspiring me." Oh, that got me. The part about like, I don't have to be a spectator in group settings anymore. If you are experiencing hearing loss, you know what that's like, to feel like a spectator in group settings, whether it's because you don't know what everyone's talking about, you're too afraid to interject or initiate something because maybe they already said it, or you have to ask them to repeat themselves and you feel like a burden. And so I just really loved that. That totally resonated with me. Thank you, Kim, for sharing that. Again, if you have any questions for me, please let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I look forward to making more great content for you. Have a great day. Bye. And I just want to add, if people are mentioning like, hey, you should get hearing aids, or I don't think you heard me or they recommend that you get hearing aids and you're in denial, that's definitely an indicator. Just go ahead and get your hearing checked. If it's good and your hearing's all good to go, you can say, I know it's not my hearing, but if there is something that can be taken care of, you will know and you will be able to get that taken care of. I hope this helps. Have a great day. Stay strong. Stay amazing. Bye.